You know what happened after that. We're live now. Like, like that would have been that would have been the first. Was it the first? Saturday the 1st? Let me look. Let me look. So it
It would have.
was.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh no, no, it was the 28th. It was the last day of February. Oh, it was your first. It was your first. Okay. See,
Yeah, it was
today's
yeah,
my
it was my
14th.
first.
Today's my 14th. So it's your 15th.
Oh, of
So
course. I'm in the
so
future.
yeah, so that was on the 28th, and then I had the seizures on the 3rd and the 4th, and then the rest is history.
That's,
So 7 days from the
oh,
3rd, you see? Yeah. So okay, we're live. Let
so
me make sure everything is. Oh yeah, we already got 13 people here. Okay. Yeah, we got a special show. A special show today. Alisha Cosmic Gateway is disheveled, and Todd from Soulogy is fucked. I'm still getting over. I've been eating nothing but rice, and oatmeal and bananas for what 10 days, 9 days. I had one day where I got off of it, and I paid for it.
huh?
The only thing left is my
Okay.
stomach. My
So your
stomach.
body's still going.
Yeah, it's my lower intestines and stomach went through quite really the root and sacral, I would say. But I'm coming out
Yeah,
of it.
the
I'm
lower.
starting to. Yeah, exactly. I'm coming out of it. Here, I'm going to tag you, and if you, as long as we're waiting, let's see. All right, I got both of them. Cosmic Gateway, and God, there was something came up, and I don't remember what it was. I don't know what's going on here. It's not letting me do it. Okay, well, let me try this one. See if it'll let me do your name. No. Oh, there it is. Okay. At least I got your part in there. I'll go back and put Cosmic Gateway in later. Oh, I
All
see.
right, I've got it.
We have a bit of,
I'm.
yeah, we have a bit of funkiness happening. All
Is
right, let me
it?
just.
Is it lagging?
Yeah, but it'll pick up. It'll pick up. It takes a little bit. Are you lagging on your end? Oh, there's Jed Riverstone. He got here late, but he's the first one in the house. We got 21 people in the house.
Hey,
Welcome to the.
Jed.
Yeah, that was a great show with him. That was crazy. That was a crazy. That was a crazy show. In retrospect, so a lot's gone on since 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago was February 28th on my calendar. In the Northern Hemisphere, it was March 1st. For Alicia, and then 3 days later was the red blood moon, and I had 15 seizures in 10 hours. I think about 4 days after that, I went on with Jed and talked about it for about 30 or 45 minutes. And then I had several people, including you, about 4 or 5 people that reached out to me. And the last one was yesterday. And they all had these little pieces of everything that I went through that I hadn't discussed, right? And then also in the last, what is today? I forgot already. The 14th. Yeah. Also, this last week has been like life changing, life altering, wild, crazy, and there's all these cycles that keep showing up. You know, on June the 1st of last year, something happened in my life, and it was 14 years to the day, to the hour that it happened. Basically, the same thing happened to me 14 years prior. And then a few days ago, on the day 14 years ago that the name Soulogy was given to me by Archangel Michael, who said it was the other side of truth, 14 years to the day, which was the 10th, your birthday, something happened to me. Okay. And then today is my daughter's birthday. And it's also the day I opened up the Soulogy group on Facebook, guided by my team. Right? So there's a 14 again. And so, and then today, I'll go ahead and, today I bought a ticket. I knew that there was going to be some information come in over this weekend. I've been feeling movement since the 1st, and I didn't know what it was. And then I had this stuff happen to me. Like, it just came in, like loud and clear. Green light, go. Your time is up here. And so I just went and bought a cheap Mexican phone so I could travel. And I'm heading out on the 25th, so in about 10 days. And I don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to do. Yeah. But I'm excited about it because I feel like it's running parallel to what we're all doing, right? See, my voice is getting back like it was when I was talking to Jed. It's like some weird shit's going on with my voice, my throat chakra. It's crazy. But the crazy thing is you, Jed, and 3 or 4, 5 other people hit me up about what they saw or what they received. And then there was another 2 or 3 that I've got. I had to go back and look at because I've been running around all day, but that I came to him in dreams in the last couple of nights. And there's just this some kind of continuity or something is happening. So I don't know. I knew this weekend would be big. It's not over yet. I mean, you're already on Sunday. I'm essentially halfway through. So, I'm talking about the stuff that's been coming in has been like, well, everything I've talked about as far as the animals and the ocean and the stars, constellations, particularly Sirius, Orion's Belt, Aldebaran, Pleiades, Venus, Mars, Jupiter has now come in the picture. And and it's like what I'm getting is beyond the tech of the secret space program. It's beyond everything that I've seen out there people are talking about on the platforms as far as disclosure. It's beyond that. Like it's bigger than that. And I feel like we're tapped into it. We're tapped into something that's bigger than all these narratives and these conversations that are being had. You know, and it goes back to why we started this show, which was basically why isn't anyone talking about these things from the soul's perspective or to include the soul in the conversation. The only thing that I've come across is people saying, and I'm going to actually go back to a clip that you and I did that I put up today, but people saying that our consciousness and or our soul had been fragmented and split against our will. Now, there was a clip that I put up today. Shout out to Gregory Jones at infusedlights.com. Everybody, please go to his site. He's doing some amazing work. And he's been kind enough to do some clips for us. In that clip, you said, I said, it was our choice to come here. And then I think it was you. It was you, I believe. And it was, that's true, but not fully true. And I got it, and I don't know if it was you or Rebecca Barron. I can't remember now, but I got it when I saw the clip. And what it was that within this realm, once we entered the realm, that's where the fragmentation occurred. We did have free will to come in, and then, you know, there were some things that were conceded to or consented to, okay? They were consented to by us still within the realm, which still speaks to free will. However, it wasn't done in a way where we had our memories of it. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say I had a life before this, and in that life, I agreed to enroll my birth certificate. Let's just say, okay, and by virtue of that, I gave some of myself up to, let's say, the Vatican or whatever. Now I get born again, and I come in, and it's still applicable. Okay? I don't have memory of it, so for me, it's not a free will choice, but that's just this incarnation in the series of one long incarnation and through these earth incarnations. So, but where I ended up with it was all we have to do is know. Once we become aware of the fuckery and the bullshit, which we're getting, that's being facilitated by this universal energy that's making everything come out to the top of the surface and to be seen, then we can make that change now. And for me, and I know some people are different, I don't need to take revoke an oath or go through any formality or remove my birth certificate. I don't need to do any of that. All I need to do is say, fuck this, I'm not participating anymore, period. Okay? So I thought that made me feel much better. Like I had this huge knot in my stomach. I thought I was going to vomit, but I'm good now. So you better start talking. I'm okay now. I'm integrating.
Oh, well, that's a perfect segue. That's a perfect segue. Todd, so you and I have had some like pretty intense discussions that have left me with this overwhelming sense of, oh my God, we really are at this point. Now, I've been doing some deep diving research in my work for the last 9 months, maybe a bit longer. And I want to tie into that because what I realized was I started to discover where the portions of our consciousness have been. So you're talking about we come in here and then our consciousness gets fractalized into what we would call parallels or pocket realms. And that can be through technology, it can be through trauma, it can be through a myriad of different things. But I've started to review it through client sessions and through remote viewing. And what I realized is, yeah, there's what I call matrix pods. There's money matrix pods. There's all these different types of that are fueling this inverted system. And I was like, why do people go through things like the strawman and only a fraction of the people are successful in going through all that rigmarole and, common law and all that? And I went, oh, it's the energetics. And that's when I realized these are these cords that we're actually pulling out. So as we're going through frequency jumps and expansion, we are freeing ourselves and liberating ourselves from the energetic perspective that removes us from the fuckery. And with that, we call back our consciousness back into the present moment. And that's where we become an unstoppable force. So I've been deep diving in this, in these pockets, in these realms. I feel like this is the most important thing at this point. And you said it perfectly. It's like we eliminate ourselves from that the inverted matrix or the upside down false reality so that we can then harness actualize all of our consciousness back in this one, like honing it back into the one body, into the one timeline that gives us the ultimate power for our superhuman capacity and powers. And that's where we literally embody the new reality that we've all been been talking about. That is the individual mechanics as I understand it through my own experience, and then obviously connecting with other people who've gone through really big life-changing altering experiences like you did with the seizures. And everyone has their own unique way in how they make that jump and leap. And I think we're about to witness a much greater collective jump and leap. And I've been tracking the patterns to try and understand the different ways that the human experience can go through it so I can support it. And so I get really, I get super lit up because this is why we're here. The human level, the human story of what we go through to unravel. And I truly believe that, yes, we came in, we consented to being here. We set up on a soul level, our path and what we had to go through or achieve or witness or experience to a degree. But the amount of times I have heard we massively underestimated the level of density and fuckery in this realm. Like, yes, we consented to this, and this, but all the hijacking, the timeline wars, the secret, all that, yes, part of it was written into the script, but there's a huge portion of it that was completely underestimated as to how the levels of depravity that operate in this realm that is now coming literally in real time, everything to light, everything exposed, everything being like brought up, all the dirty laundry, because it has to for us to then, be able to migrate. That's the word that I've been getting through my dreams. We're migrating into the new reality, and it's happening. I literally, if I look back at this week, I've spent maybe 40 to 50% in that reality. And then, I had to deal with some law enforcement BS, and then I could feel the fuckery. So I had to go through this process of like trying to eliminate myself from these, like pulling my energy out and reinforcing my own personal power. I was like, no, no, no. I don't play in that realm. That is not compatible to my frequency. And it's not easy to do, but like it's got to be done.
Yeah. That's it right there. Just making our mind up, our heart and mind up. And then, what you said about this, the level of depravity, the level of whatever you want to call it. We didn't know what we were getting into. We did not know what we were getting into. However, something did. Something that's something, the you, me, we, and it did. There was something about coming in here that we did know what we were getting into. You might call it the organic 3D, all right? But within that construct, it was something else. And I use this metaphor of the firmament, okay? Just as a metaphor. I'm not saying that it exists or doesn't exist. I'm just saying it's a fishbowl within a realm that we agreed to come into, and somehow or another it was presented to us as just another day in the office, right? Just another mission. And it wasn't, and it hasn't been. And I do think that there is some level of a lesser God mentality that initiated this stuff. I don't know why. Maybe they got extra bored, or maybe they actually thought they were God. I don't know. I don't know. But one thing we do know is that what goes around comes around. That's a universal law. We don't have to go out and seek vengeance. We don't have to carry a grudge. We don't have to be upset and angry, because the real focus has always been, whether we were deceived or not, in every mission, every incarnation, is to expand the self. And that's the key. And what I've run into since this happened to me 10 days ago, right, with the seizures and everything, and then having people talk to me, including you, okay, where they're actually talking to me, and it feels like my soul is talking to me through them and filling in the blanks. And so one of these things happened. I think you might have picked up on this. I know somebody else did. I did that night. Like, I knew something that had been with me for a long, I'm talking ancient here. We're talking eons here. This is why I feel like that this goes way beyond Atlantis and Lemuria and Elysium and Avalon. I mean, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of previous civilizations. This has been rooted way back. And so something released from my body, something that was alien to me. And if it happened to me, it's probably everybody. Okay, and these are you might call it an implant. You could call it whatever you want to call it, but it made it when it made us less than whole. So part of the experience with the seizures was all of these aspects coming back into me fully, like fully. They all came back in, and that in itself created a huge electrical explosion within my body, i.e. seizures, but also equally happening at the same time was, you might even say, the death of these things. These things that were leaving me, I say things, plural, because they weren't happy about it. They were not happy about it. And from what I can see with those around me, I see the same thing. And I have for a long time now in retrospect. And I'll give you an example. My second wife that transitioned, there were certain entities, or I hate to use that word, but there were certain alien entities in her that I saw point blank. And I dealt with point blank. Mm-hmm. And I had the same thing happen with another person I ran into that I spent some time with back in 2012. And it was the same thing. In both cases, I assisted in removing them. In both cases, I challenged them, and they couldn't enter me. Okay? They even told me, we can't come into you, kind of thing. Now, the other thing about with my second wife is that one of my children, I saw the same entities in her. And this goes back about 10 years. So there's something to be said for that. There's some kind of daisy chain through our blood relations, you might say. Okay, so I'm not trying to scare anybody. In fact, I'm trying to empower people. And that is, you and I, any of us can take on these intrusive energies, okay? And these intrusive energies have been showing themselves to all of us through our personal exchanges and interactions. We think it's the other person. I think it's Alisha, but it's not Alisha. It's the entity in her speaking to the entity in me. Right? And so it becomes convoluted, and then it becomes personal, and then we think it's the person. It's not the fucking person. It's not. This is, call it archons, call it whatever you want to call it. But the bottom line is they do not have dominion over us. The only thing they had was deception, and at some point we consented, and we know the game now, and it's extrapolated to birth certificates and extrapolated to the other straw mans, all that stuff, right? The maritime law, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's just become more and more embedded, but it's not, it's one of those things, it's one of those things that may have taken eons to get to the point it has, but it can take an instant to get it the fuck out, right? And I believe, I'm with you. I think people are doing this, and it's a common ground that we have. And it's a way for us to remove the differentiation and separation and division between us. That's a very important part because it gives us more power than what we think we have. In other words, when we start to realize everybody's going through the same thing and we start to transform this and turn it around within ourselves, we're doing it not just with the power that we hold, but the power that we are connected to everybody else in unison, as a collective, uniform network. But we can't do that if we're blaming other people, thinking that they're the fucking problem. Okay? They're not. They're us. You're me. All right? You're me. And so we pull from the whole. We're not in this alone. Right? Your turn. Thanks. I see you jumping
I'm
all
so
around.
glad you brought this up because I've been reflecting on this exact topic all week, and I had said to one of my dear soul sisters, I was sharing with her some memories and some stories that came back around this topic. And I said to her, I can't wait till I get on Sunday with Todd because I'm going to let rip and talk about stuff that I've never spoken about before. And because it's so important to talk about the entities that exacerbate the relationship fuckery and create more separation. And if you don't have the eyes to see, or the perception to see, or the ability to feel into what's a trauma and what's an actual entity that's like creating interference, that's a really slippery slope. But I think the reason why it's so heightened right now is because it's coming to the end game. So we have to clock it for what it is. And when we can look that energy in the face and just say no more, like, it doesn't have a power over us. And I've said this so many times, that there are entities and beings that are ancient, that have come in from way beyond just like our birth. Some of them have followed us through, and the story that I'll share was, this was an entity that had followed me from ancient Egypt times, that was still out to get me and mess with my relationship. And the way that it showed me and presented, I've had many situations like this in my life, and it's like, you can't unsee it. It's not like, and it's always the closest relationship, whether it's a partnership, whether it's a family member, a best friend. It's, and what I've said to people, it's the same energy that comes in. So you've got to address it and deal with it, and not be afraid of it, but take your power back and go, So I don't know if you want me to share like a very specific example of
Yes,
like something
absolutely.
that.
Go for it, and I'll follow suit.
Okay. So I had I have had I've been very blessed to have many powerful soul connections, but one in particular that completely changed my life. We had such a hard time coming. We were just always we would harmonize and we would be in conflict, harmonize and then be in conflict. And what I started to notice was, every time we would come into this synchronized unity frequency, something so messed up and fucked up would happen. I can't begin to tell you. And it was just like, and then we would flip on each other, and we would turn on each other, and we'd fight. And I actually noticed the pattern. I went, I'm not going to play into this pattern anymore. Like, I end this. And I had made a conscious decision that, no, I'm just not going to fight. Like, I'm going to come at it from a totally different angle. Now, I was invited to present at a conference up in Queensland in 2018. Now, he didn't come, and that was fine. I think if I look back, he was holding space for me while I was, first speaking about light conception publicly. So it was a big deal for me. And I was like terrified that I was going to be, all sorts of things. Once I had finished that conference, I went through a massive activation that evening. He came and met me. We had dinner. We had this, probably one of the most beautiful connections in that night of conversation, of being on the same level of consciousness. It'd been a long time. Now, after that evening was over, he left. I was staying in an apartment. I was It was one of those really heightened activations, where, to the point where being in his presence grounded me. But as soon as he left, I was that high that I was tripping over my own body. Like, I could barely function in a human suit because the frequency was so intense. And I laid in bed, and mind you, this is not substance induced. This would happen based on the connection that we had. It was very, very heightened cosmic connection. And every single Kundalini activation that I'd had up until that point was, as contributed by that relationship. Now, what happened was, that night after he left, I'm staring at like this scene in front of my eyes, showing me all this soul memory from us back in Egyptian times. And it was just like a movie. It was like watching a movie, but it was like physically in front of my eyes. And I saw us as a family unit in this kind of beautiful golden iridescent rainbow light, very Egyptian-esque. And I was like, My heart was exploding. It was like the most loving feeling sensation. Next thing, the scene changed, and this being, this snake being, started coming in and around, and it went into him. And I watched this very dark snake being morph into his body. And I heard it do this really sinister laugh. And I heard in my head, like telepathically, what are you going to do now? As in, the person that you care about most in this entire universe has just been corrupted. What are you going to do? And in that moment, I did the only thing that I could think of was I just ignited the energy from my heart and I poured it into him, and everything just like exploded, and it annihilated that dark energy, and he came back into him. So his consciousness came back into him. He was no longer taken over. So I had that. It was a vision, and I didn't really know where to put it, but I just like, okay, that was a vision. That was an experience that has happened previously to us. It explains why we have this conflict now. And I just let it go. It was like, okay, this is a past life memory. A month later, Todd, I come back to visit. We go out for dinner. We're sitting on this balcony where I was staying. We were just chatting away. And all of a sudden the energy shifted and it changed. And I felt really uncomfortable. And he just went dead silent. And I didn't sort of read the room so much. And I kind of asked him a few questions, and he just went silent. He wouldn't speak to me at all. So at that point I said, well, if you're not going to talk to me, you may as well just leave. I'm tired. It's been a long day. And he got up and he started to walk out, like quite, head down, kind of just walking out. And all of a sudden that thought came back into my head, and it was like, no, I'm doing things differently. Like, we can't be arguing and leaving on bad terms. And and I said, stop, wait. I said, stop, come back. And I said, no, I don't want you to leave on this term here. Come, give me a hug. Let's like not leave on this. And he came and he faced me, and we were standing face to face in the kitchen. And I looked deep into his eyes. And with that, I saw the snake eyes through his eyes blink at me in physical real time. And I went, oh, you fucker. Now, I'm not talking about the person. This was this being that I had a heads up a month ago. Like, this is what's messing with your relationship. And in that moment, I had the grand dress rehearsal. So I did the same thing. I powered up my heart energy and I blasted it and basically went, you have no domain over this. Like, you must leave immediately, and cleared that being out of his body, essentially. And with that, it was like I saw him come back in, and I heard this telepathic message from him saying, thank you, and I love you. We walked to the car. Now, I didn't mention any of this. I never mentioned that to him. Still to this day, he doesn't know about what I witnessed in that moment. But I saw something I couldn't unsee. But what was even more profound was, as we walked to the car, and it was him back in the body, not that being, he looked at me and he had this emotion, full of emotion expression. And he said to me, I don't understand why I can't be kinder to you. He said, I so badly want to be nicer to you, but I always find like I'm mean to you, and I don't know why I do that. And in my head, I was like, I know exactly why you do that, because you're being controlled by this being that just revealed itself. And that, I did the best that I could to navigate and clear that. But the truth of the matter in that relationship was that there was traumas from childhood and beyond that hadn't been cleared. So I could only, when it comes to someone else, I could only do so much. I could take care of, my energy, but and that's just one example of so many that I have experienced throughout my life. But it was it was empowering because it was like, well, I guess I want to empower people because it's like when you stand up to it and you say no more, it doesn't have the space to be able to meddle, I guess. And from my own perspective, I realized that it was coming for me through people that I loved because that relationship that I'm speaking to, we went separate ways. You know, we're still connected on a soul level, always will be. We made different choices, but we're always connected. And that energy of that being still followed me through friendships until I finally dealt with it. And it took me a few more years to like, and it would come through at times when I was vulnerable or big pivotal moments where I was about to make some big changes. The timing of it is very specific. But this was when I went back to reconcile it, I realized that this was something that had taken place from an ancient time that was still embedded in my soul's journey into this lifetime. And I think that's the truth of it. It doesn't always happen, but I've seen it happen more than once and to more than people, like more than just myself. I've had many conversations over the years with people who've had similar experiences where there's been these attachments or entities that it's called ancient beef, Todd. It goes back way beyond, this human incarnation. And because we're coming up to wrapping up the cycles within cycles within cycles, it's this huge reconciliation process to be able to step into the new as we're doing so quickly. These things have to be seen and dealt with and understood for what they truly are so that they're not taken into the new cycle. And I think that's the most important thing. It was like, if you need motivation to get to the bottom of whatever energies might be interfering or whatever, it's because we're going into a new cycle where that will not come with us. It will not be allowed.
No, they can't.
So there's a threshold.
It can't come with us. Okay, so I got like 3 examples real quick. First of all, when you said that first time that you opened your heart and blasted it and it was gone, the first of the 2 examples you gave us, okay, the 2 occurrences, I did the same thing with my daughter years ago.
Wow.
And I ran it out, but it came back. See, we certainly can influence it and we can certainly remove it, but like you said, you can only do so much. Each one of us is an island in and of ourselves, even though we're connected to everyone else, right? So that's not to say that you can't get rid of it yourself. It's just that there is that element of self-autonomy, and that's just the way it rolls. That's the soul, okay? So that's one thing. And this is why I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. When you start to understand that it's not the person that you're looking at, okay, it's not them responsible, okay? And the same can be said for yourself. When you have the same type of thoughts that your friend had about you, wanting to know why he was treating you the way he was, right? So I'll give you another example, second example. And I told you about this, and I've talked about this before. I spent a few months after I woke up, I got into a really deep situation very quickly, which is my style, just like the seizures. And I'm in an apartment for a weekend with a woman, and we had soul connections going back. Her son had died, and he'd come to me. That's how I found her, and it was deep stuff. It was ancient threads, right? And so I went into the bathroom. I came out, and her whole face and body got bloated. She had like bile color and splotches all over her face. So she looked like a blowfish. And this was an attractive woman, okay, 50-ish years old, very, very nice looking lady. And her voice turned into The Exorcist. And so I spent the weekend with my guides working out what the fuck was going on. You know, I'm talking to someone that's possessed or has a demon or, you know, I don't know anything at this time. And I'm telling my team, hey, man, you didn't give me an owner's manual. What the fuck do I do? I took a crucifix off the wall. I put it in her face and I said, I am who I am. And, you know, but the reason I wanted to bring this one back up is because I looked in her eyes and it was the other way around. All I could see on the outside was the entities. There was 4. But when I looked at her right eye, I could see her inside of there. And I could hear her saying to me, help me, I'm scared. Okay? Help me, I'm scared. So I eventually, when we parted company, with the help of other beings, benevolent beings, was able to pull these 4 entities out of her. Well, I didn't do it. She had to be the one that signs off on it. You know how that goes. And that's how it ended. Now, this other one just came to me in the last 3 or 4 days. And this one is another perfect example of why we need to see. We're holding the show up here because we keep blaming each other. We keep judging each other. We keep saying they're a narcissist. We keep saying they're a bad person. We do that, and we are playing into the archonic vibration. We are doing exactly what the government does to us. Divide and conquer, okay? Let's get the ethnicities fighting with each other or the religions fighting with each other, and they forget that we're the one. You know, you ever met somebody who likes to stir the shit up and then just sits back and watch everybody get ugly with each other, and they just get a big kick out of it? That's what we're dealing with. Now, what happened to me, this was very profound. So when I got to Mexico, I started going to the Bay like 4 days a week, and I'd spend 3 or 4 hours out there. And for the first 3 or 4 months, I was dab in the middle of the Aztec and Conquistador rift. I'm standing on the beach. I see the ships coming. I'm Montezuma. We're you know, I mean, in my mind, we're indigenous. We're living with the land, you know, such and such. The conquistadors are coming. They're bringing Christianity. They're bringing power. They're bringing technology because they had weapons. They had rifles, muskets, and so on. So I went through 3 or 4 months of bringing this to equilibrium and neutralize it to the best of my ability. And so what I came to understand, and again, this is through my own experience and my own eyes, I was Montezuma. I was Cortez. I was a conquistador that did horrible things. I was, you know, and I thought going into this thing that it was a lopsided deal, that the Spanish were out of bounds and Indians were just minding their own business. Now, in the last few days, during this prolific time for me, I've been given more insight. And that insight was, yes, the conquistadors came. They came looking for gold. They came looking for new lands to conquer for the mother country. They come to the capital of the Aztecs, which, by the way, I was shown, and I went and looked this up. It's true. That was already there when they got there. You know what I mean? A lot of this stuff was already there when the Mayans moved in, or the, you know, so-and-so moved in. Even the Egyptians, I would imagine. So what ends up happening is the conquistadors come in, they break bread with them, they say, hey, you know, this is who we are, this is what we have to offer, they trade with them and so on, but they're being deceptive, okay? Now, they're rationalizing their behavior because the Aztecs, and I went and looked this up, okay, they were cannibals. They were doing child sacrifices. They were doing adult sacrifices. They had some dark shit going on. Now, obviously, so did the conquistadors see the Spanish Inquisition, okay, which a great deal of that happened right here in Central America, and it was horrific, okay? So my point is this. The seeds were already planted. These archonic energies, if that's what we're going to call them, whatever you want to call them, they were already far embedded in both of these civilizations. So when these two civilizations came together, whether it be two groups of people or two people, they were already not themselves. They were already in a state of superiority or inferiority or narcissism. They were already damaged. They were already corrupted. Everybody was fucked, okay? And the blood and the guts and the horrific stuff that happened, it was off the fucking chart. But my point is, there was never any unity. There was never any chance for any unity because one side was pitted against the other, but it came from something like you're talking about. It came from something way back. Why would the Aztecs? I saw it. You know, remember we made the jokes about Montauk and being in the cage, the hybridization, all that? I saw basically kids and prisoners being fattened up to be sacrificed and killed, to be eaten. Okay? And I saw inside of one of the temples this dark fucking room, man. I mean, it was nasty. Skulls everywhere. I mean, so everybody was affected. Every single person was affected. And that still plays out today. But this is what we're changing. And yeah, it's that, well, how can I have compassion for such and such? How can I have compassion for such and such? And I would just remind you of the lady that I interviewed years ago that was working with sex trafficking victims. That was her new enterprise. And she told me, I said, what are these people like? And she said, I have never met a more compassionate being than these victims. They said, she told me one particular lady that was the main story. She said, as soon as she walked in, she said, do not look down upon these perpetrators. She could see their souls. So this is what the veil is. The veil is, I don't see you as me. And that can be said a whole bunch of different ways. I blame you. It's your fault. Another way of saying that is it's not my fault. Okay? So if we can understand 66:22:11, if we can understand that everybody has been subjected to the same thing, to include and have an open mind, that, and I do right now for myself, I may still have work to do, okay, regardless of the level of intel that I've received and confirmation I've received, right? But the point is, this is how we help each other. The way we help each other is to recognize that we've all been through the same thing. We are all the soul, and this is what we have in common, and we all have in common that we've been subjected to the same thing. It's time to unite in our story, and this in itself, this awareness that's occurring in itself is an impetus and a catalyst for moving these energies out of our bodies and bringing in the rest of our aspects, such as what happened to me that night. You know, as I told you about the 100 aspects, and then you were telling me about the 101. So, which is kind of interesting because I was telling Alisha.
Yeah.
I was telling Alisha because another friend had a dream and had to talk to me. I'm like, okay, I'll talk to you. I didn't feel like it. And she starts telling me this stuff. And then I don't know what happened. I just said to her, well, I got to talk to Alisha in a few minutes. And I didn't even know she was connected to you. She's like, oh, I know her. We work together. And I'm like, oh. Well, I said, imagine this. Imagine there was, because I was trying to explain to her what I was getting. I said, imagine I have 100 aspects. And I said, they were all hanging around me, and they've all been like phasing in and phasing out. And on that night, they all came in. And it was like a earthquake, right? And so then I'm talking to you 10 minutes later, and you start telling me about this 101 thing, 101 aspects, and I saw it as the one was me and the 100 were coming in. Now, I know that may not have made sense, but my point is there's continuity and synchronicity when we start to open up and tell these stories, and it may not seem like from a rational, logical, cognitive, human, linear sense that it makes any sense, but it does. And all we have to do is remember. The more we remember, the more we acknowledge what is within our own experience and field, then we start to see it in the other. And then the war is over. Okay? We don't have We don't have to go after vengeance. We don't have to fight. We don't have to march. We don't have to protest. We don't have to point out all the fuckery going on. All we have to do is talk to each other and recognize that we are one and the same thing, not just as a soul, but also in the experience and what we've been subjected to. Because the memory is what turns everything on. All you got to do is remember, and it turns it on. I don't mean to make light of it and say all you got to do is this, but I'm just saying but this is not something we've done. We want to be different. We want to be separate. We want to be divided because that's the way we've been programmed. And these implants within us, whatever you want to call them, that's how they operate. So they're communicating with each other, and we think it's us. No. That's why you have those harmonic periods, and then boom, something happens, which has been aligned with numbers and dates and distorted timelines and all that stuff too. See, so that's part of it. I think we're going to have to be dropping a lot of things, including the days of the week, including the calendar, and I think even including the stars. Because the stars told me this is your past history. This is your past. This is your story. It's not the end all cure all. It's just showing you what's been showing me. These particular star systems and constellations have been showing me, and they reminded me again last night. They said we show up. Think about all the times we showed up and what was going on. We're just telling you what the field looks like. Now you make a new choice, and that new choice is unity, consciousness, and oneness. No blame, no shame, no guilt, and all that bullshit, right? And it takes a lot of balls. This is big work. This is our big work there, I think. Thanks.
Thank you, Todd. So I couldn't have put that any more perfectly. I've been saying in the last week that with everything that's happening in the world right now, the most important thing that we can be doing is making peace with ourselves and others, and just staying in that unity, that resonance of unity to the best and the most optimal ability that we have. The soul retrieval process, or what I call the quantum merging process of bringing back all the fractals of consciousness back to self, is the solar flash. The individual solar flash experience. When you retain that level of consciousness coming back, like you went through with the seizures and through those 3 days, you reclaim your own frequency. Where we're moving into, it's like you reclaim all the memory, the understanding, the learning, the lessons, like all the aspects of your heritage, whether it be through biologic, through soul, through energetic imprint. But we also are walking out the door, so to speak, of that entire experience and into something completely new, where I love this phrase that talks about when you end a cycle that has been hard and drawn out, and you literally take everything from the cycle that is being completed, you alchemize it so that you retain the understanding, but you're not actually taking the trauma, or you're kind of alchemizing it into this wisdom, this pearl of wisdom, and you step into the new with that profound wisdom, but not carrying the load of all the baggage. And that's I think that is the most important and profound thing that each of us can be doing, because the more we do that, the more the collective field follows suit in that, and we kind of move and morph into that state. I've always had a huge issue with the word narcissism. Like, I can't even say it without making me want to, like, my body reacts. And I think it's become such a buzzword, that person's a narcissist or whatever. And I've always said, can we just call it for what it is? It's entities or trauma or both. That's all it is. And it's created a word that's kind of, villainizing people for behavior where it's an energy expression that is not of that person's soul resonance that's coming through in that moment, that is pushing buttons. And I agree with you. We all have these, what I call imprints or implants, frequency chips, especially when it comes to soul matches, soul frequency, whether it be relationship or, you know, a project like a companion who you work together in partnership with to create something. We've been messed with to destabilize that, because the power of the two and then the ripple of people coming together is the unshakable force that creates new realities. It creates universes, it creates galaxies, it creates everything. So if you don't want that to take place, like, what do? You keep that in separation, you keep that in conflict. And I've always said, most relationships seem to have some sort of energetic entanglement that will lay dormant until pivotal times. And I think this is the artificial time cycles that we've been operating in, that then in hindsight they do propel us in the moments of what would be seen catalytic devastation. Or, I mean, I've been through my fair share of it. I'm not gonna lie, more times than I would like to admit. Like, how did we get here? How did this happen? Until I started to like witness it through different perception, different eyes. And I was like, okay, so I've got to like keep my energy field as clean as possible. And that's my responsibility, to be in the highest embodiment and integrity. And I try to my best to do that every day. And I'm still human, you know. When we're moving through these times, it can be challenging, but it's like, I also know, and I'm getting chills all through the back of my spine now, I also know what it's like in co-creation and relationship on the flip side of this. And so as we do this migration, I know that, and I've said this before, I've actually seen it, with my current partnership, and I'm going through some really devastating human experiences, and have been for the last couple of years, more specifically in the last 12 months. The most unforeseen, highest level of interference has taken place. But I can't look at it like that. I cannot look at it like that, because that only just brings my frequency down, and it makes me less wanting to pursue my path and, go into victim mode. I have to rise above that and do everything that I can. And what I've been shown is that there is a version of me and him already in the perfect relationship that both and I deeply desire, being together and creating. We have this, we've always had this passion to create together, and we have the same visions, and we have the same expression, and it's a beautiful thing. And literally everything has been thrown at us to keep us from doing that thing that creates a positive ripple effect. And no matter what, we rise to the challenge, and we don't allow it to, we do what we can in the circumstances that we've been dealt with. But what I've also been seeing through my dream space is, when horrific things happen in this reality, we're not actually living and operating in the full organic. We're making our way there, but we haven't fully arrived. And I have seen this expression of where we're already residing, because it's not linear, right? So I can see what would be perceived as the future, and it doesn't have the fuckery. It doesn't have the implants. It's two soul beings that can come together in harmony, in love, for the greater good of all, to create something magical, beautiful in that co-creative space, and utilize the energy as it was always destined inside. But what we're taking down now is all the times when we've been in society, been in these couplings, or society has been basically built upon these couplings, and then the collapse of society, whether it be the invasion of, like I like to call the invasion of the arachna beings, invasion of the spider beings, snake beings, whatever, the reptilians, archons, you name it. We've been through all of them, and now we're cleaning house to eradicate all of that and to alchemize the trauma imprint that we've had through those devastating experiences, so that we can get to our natural harmonic vibration that we know that it already resides within us. We have that template within us. We're making our way back there so that we can do naturally what we know how to do. And yeah, I'm going to leave it there. But I have seen what's coming, and it is beyond our wildest dreams.
I believe you. I believe you. I think a lot of us have gotten inklings of it. But again, there's been so much minutia that we've been wading through like a swamp. It's been difficult to get that perspective and retain it. Because we've been, it's a pattern. It's a distorted template. It's a rhythm in its own way. So this is probably going to sound a bit blasphemous, but let me just preface it by saying the way that this intelligence that we are remembering operates is not the way the intellect operates. It's not the way that we have evolved or perceived ourselves to expand. It's a different geometry, a different math. It's a different language. It's innate within us, instinctive within us, and this is why we just when we remember, the power gets turned on. So, a lot of modalities and processes that served us, including any that might have served me, no longer apply. They don't apply anymore. There's some basic components, and this quantum merging, I believe, is the core, the key one. People call it aeroskamos, people call it merging. I think a lot of the stuff that we're putting together now, like what you're putting together with quantum merging, even though I don't know the ins and outs of it, I know some of it that you've talked about, we're remixing it. We're making it better. We're utilizing the the new code. I think she just fell out. That's strange. Wait a minute. Okay. That's pretty weird. I think that, here she's back. Okay, that was interesting. Anyway.
We broke the internet. Keep going, Todd.
I'm telling you, I don't know what the hell happened on this end. But what I'm saying is this. One of the go-tos for all of us, and it was necessary, and it was highly relevant, and it worked. And that was to go back to a certain trauma. When did this first happen to me? What happened to me? We know this because a lot of this stuff got blocked out in the subconscious, and then it came back through meditation or past life regression or whatever the case is. What I'm finding is this. As I have gone through this last 2 weeks and have this different perspective, or have a broader perspective to be able to look at my life. And I've got a whole bunch of stuff to look at, okay? Because everyone knows I've been a wild ass most of my life. And so something comes with that. From a soul perspective, you got a bigger palette to paint with, and from a human perspective, it's probably not, I wouldn't suggest it for everybody. But what it has done is given me a lot of information, a lot of experience. So what I'm noticing is this, or what I'm getting is this. I'm not going to say notice. It's not the program. It's not the program. The program is a memory that was probably forgotten, the incident, the trauma. It's the pattern that stems from it. I believe a lot of people have identified their programs, and I have too. But it hasn't stopped the pattern. The pattern is the way that this thing that we're talking about, the way that this entity, let's say the demiurge, let's call it archons, let's call it whatever you want to call it, this non-physical entity that has been a part of your field, a part of my field, communicates knowingly with each other, utilizing us and laughing their ass off the whole time because they're getting exactly what they want. They want you to believe it's me and me to believe it's you, but it's not. So how can you combat that? Because that might be something above my pay grade. What are my patterns? What are my reactions? And this is. I'm not just speaking words here. I'm talking about. It's a constant moment by moment maintenance. It's a constant moment by moment conscious living effort. It's not what used to be applicable 2 years ago or 5 years ago. It's not The Secret. It's not any of this stuff people are talking about. That's just me. It's not necessary. This, I go on X, I go on YouTube, I go on Facebook. I keep watching these platforms. They're talking about all the fuckery. Well, I get that. What the fuck? What the fuck? It's just reinforcing everything. It's creating, they call it fear porn. I think it's more than that. It's a mechanism. It's a machine. And it just keeps running. How can I offset this? I can only offset this in my own field moment by moment as I'm continuing to learn and remember more and more of my multidimensionality and soul. Okay? So what can I do? I can catch myself. I can admit it to myself. I can admit it to the other. I can point it out. I can try something different. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk here because it all stems from what we're thinking. Well, who's thinking? One of the great stories, and I told this before, about when the mantids came to see you, all right? And we know mantid consciousness, mantid beings are extremely high, right? And that was part of my experience this past 2 weeks. Was I was being shown my first physical incarnation was a blue avian, and that the blue avians are actually kind of descendants of the mantids, okay? So they're kind of like, imagine a bird and a mantid in the middle of that, right? And so I know the high level of intelligence that the mantids have. They're like I don't know if I could say holy men. They're more than that. It's like, more than that. But anyway, they come in to see you. You're doing work for them. You're going through the emotional ringer, and you say to them, what about my emotional health? And they said, well, we didn't figure that. Well, they didn't figure it because they're not boots on the ground. This is what makes the human experience unique. Now, my point in the story is this. We don't have any problem differentiating ourselves if we'll look at it, if we'll look at the shadow, if we'll look at the dark aspects, if we'll look at the dark entities and face them in our strength and our power. But when it comes to being omniscient, to being self-autonomous, to being soul, sometimes when the light comes in, we don't want to fuck with it. We just want to say, okay, whatever you want me to do. Keep in mind that we're made up of all these aspects, dark and light, and each one of them has a specificity. Each one of them has a strength, and they're going to push that. So when I talked to Mother Mary, and she put me through a week-long initiation, and at the end of the initiation, she said, now, who are you going to trust? I said, me. She said, even if it's between me and you? I said, yes. She said, you passed. So what I'm trying to say is, what goes for one goes for the other. If this is just me talking, I question every voice that comes in. I don't care how warm and fuzzy they make me feel. Okay? I'm going to ask questions. I have the right to do that. I'm the one incarnated. I'm boots on the ground. I'm doing the work here. Okay? I'm doing the work. I'm not the fucking redhead stepchild of the universal family. I am a God, I am the I am. I am soul. I am spirit. I am all these things. And it's important because this is liberation. It's not detaching from my family. It's not, moving off grid. It's not, what is all this talk about the concern of surviving? Who gives a fuck? How can you survive if a soul never dies? Now, if the question is, do you believe you're a soul? And that's where you might say you lack. These are the points of prayer. These are the points of appeal where we reach out to the universal and pray like children and open that heart, just like you did for your friend. This is what we do. That's what I did on December the 15th. Be careful what you ask for because they put me through the fucking ringer, but I'm better for it. So it's not, we can give our power away to the angel of light and to the darkest demon. It's still giving our power away. We're here to claim our omniscience and our sovereignty and to do something that's never been before and to stop talking about it and fucking do it and figure this shit out. And I believe it comes through these conversations, and I believe it comes through recognizing the patterns and admitting the patterns and stop blowing smoke up our ass and stop having those around us blow smoke up our ass. Okay? If somebody's making you feel comfortable all the time, you might want to take another look at it because it's a mutual masturbation session is all it is. And this is what we're moving out of. And I don't think the universal energy is playing around and going to let us do this. So we'll all get the message. But we are, I am, we have to say it that way. I am the I am. Period. So I'm not going to sit here and concern myself with all these things out here because that's part of the game. Oh, well, you're not a good person. You're not concerned about the children that are being harmed. You're not concerned about the war over here. You're not concerned about the racial injustice and this and that. Yes, I am. But the best thing I can do to serve you and to serve this universal and to serve this experience is to be in the best possible spiritual health and awareness that I can be within myself. Because I am the I am, and I am an illumination and like a tuning fork. Just like when Jesus healed people, he didn't heal them. They saw their pure reflection in him. He reflected it back, and that's all that it takes. Just like awareness. The awareness comes in, and all the power gets turned on, right? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Todd. I feel like I want to just throw in there, if it hasn't been already incredibly clear for people who may be concerned or triggered, or, what do I do if I'm faced with, I've often said 80% of the voices in your head aren't your own, maybe even more. That's truth. There is so much energy, beings, programs, and things that are running off. And it's probably the most important thing that we can do is empower understanding our own voice and our own soul voice, and to phase out the rest so that we can get really clear on our own guidance system. Sure, it's good to have input from other beings at times, but ultimately, I've always said I work with me and my higher self. Me, my higher self, and I is how we roll, and that's where I think it lies. But remember, when we're dealing with these darker beings, we have probably experienced being them to degrees throughout the soul journey or throughout the universal story. And often when and you would know by the sounds that you've done many clearings and been put in situations that, we get initiated into, of how you're going, like that being laughed at me. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? What did I do? I met it with love. I didn't go into battle and fight, because trust me, I've done that and I always end up worse off. It's remembering that the fractal of light, that being that is in lack of in that moment has forgotten. And so often the way I deal with it is I go and I get them to look at themselves and I go, see that light within you? That's what you're seeking to get from me, from that person, from the Loosh farm that exists on this collective, plane of whatever this reality is. You also have that within you. You've just forgotten. And it's like when that switch or light ignites, it's like everything is just it dissolves. It's like turning the focus back on what it is that they have forgotten. And I think, that's the most empowering thing, that if anyone's going through darkness, whether it's through a being or going through their own shadow and their own unpacking their own trauma, it's to remember the light that they hold and the power that they hold, and to come back into that. And I agree with you. The best thing that we can do right now is ripple the frequency of being the best version of ourselves and being that co-creative, taking care of ourselves, taking care of our loved ones, creating harmony and spreading it where we can, and following the small little guidances each day, because we all play our parts and we all play our roles. And for some people, it is like that woman you mentioned, she works with people who are trafficked and helping rehabilitate them. That's some people's role. My role is I help people going through unpacking multidimensional trauma. That's my role. And I feel like I would like to believe I do that to the best of my ability, to make people understand what the fuck's going on down here and how they can work with it. Some people is to be a really good mother, or, to be a teacher or whatever it is. By doing that, we are taking control of our lives, we're empowering ourselves, and we're creating a positive ripple. And the more of us that do that, and the less distraction we can pull our energy away from all the things that is creating hype or distortion or illusion. It's like, I believe right now, especially this weekend being the 14th and the 15th, this is apparently when 3i Atlas passes Jupiter and then leaves this universe. But the download that I got last year was when we got to this point of the 14th and 15th of March. That is an amplification of expansion energy. So this is a pivotal turning point. Whatever we choose to focus on, like, what do we want to create? Do we want to create more of what we're coming out of? Or do we want to step into the new of the creation of the alchemization of everything we've learned from before and create something that's never been done before? I know what I choose. And I think I know what you choose, Todd.
And I think you know because you don't know. Like, I know I'm doing something new.
Exactly.
But I don't know what the fuck it is. Like, I know I'm going to cross that border, and I don't even know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
But I don't care. It's about direction, Now, wait a minute. Let me go back. Okay. What was it? Oh, okay. So I've had 3 instances in my life where I was asked to bring in to the fullest awareness that I had, the highest points of light, the darkest dark, and the whole spectrum in between, and to bring them into my heart. 3 times that happened. I've also done it with dark entities. Okay? Where I put my arms to the side and guided to invite them into my heart. Okay? And that's the only way I can explain it. Another way I would put it is this. I shared a video about 2 weeks ago, and I've never seen it since. I have to go back and find it. So I think it was a 20 and back SSP guy who had enough memories recovered that he'd had multiple encounters with ETs. All right. My feeling, by the way, of the ETs that are interacting with a lot of these people and say the physicality are lower level ETs. I think the higher level ETs,
Yeah.
they don't have to go that route. Just like the orbs that we see versus the ships. They might show us a ship just to give us a grin, but they don't operate that way. They don't have to. You know what I mean? So this guy said, somehow or another, I don't remember his words verbatim. He said, bottom line, my advice would be, if you run across any of this, just be love. Send them love, just like you did, right? Send them love.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the last example I'd give of that is, so if you do any research into this type of thing, one of the things that you'll see, and you're even seeing some of that now in the government, in this mix of propaganda, white hats and all this, the references to messiahs and Jesus and such. So if you're in a situation, they would say, and you have something come around that is making you uncomfortable, call the name of Jesus. And they leave. And I've seen countless people say this. Now, here's my point. My point is, and I'm not taking anything away from what I consider my cosmic father, okay? That's just my own thing. But what I am saying is that when they do that, it's not about who they're invoking. It's about their belief. It's about the part of them that is in touch with their internal soul, that is omniscient, that is judicious and righteous, and powerful and unfuckwithable. That's what it is. Just like the energy that we have generated within ourselves when we have pulled ourselves up, from the depths of hell. And everyone here has. That's us. When we pray, fervently pray, like I did December 15th. Yes, I was calling in Mother Goddess and Father God and every one I'd ever come across. I called in every soul that exists. I called in everything I could. But it was my energy. That's really what it was. When I saw Jesus in the trees, when I woke up and he appeared in the trees, it took me 3 or 4 years to figure out that was me. That was me. That was my higher self, like you said, me, myself, me, my higher self, and I, right? That's it. That's the Trinity. It's me, it, and what we have in between us, that third energy. So that's the other way I would put it. Is we a lot of us have gone through these embodiments, and some of us, including myself, have even had dimensional experiences in form where we. I turned into a wolf or a bear, my spirit animals so this is real. This is us. It's all us. It's all us. That's why I laugh sometimes. I'm like, who am I praying to? But it's real. I'm as real as what I'm looking at, it's one and the same. It's one and the same. So we've been raised in an environment, even light workers and starseeds, because of the human condition, to think less of ourselves in so many ways. We don't want to give ourselves credit. I'm still working with this and being too modest, right? We can own this. We don't have to be cocky about it. We can own this. Our feet are to the fire now. And I like what you said too, because there is a certain, this isn't a done deal. No one's got it right. Like, this is what's going to happen. We say that because we want to feel good, and we don't want to be scared. Oh, it's all going to be okay. Well, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know it doesn't come down to what you're carrying forward, the faith that you have in yourself? So that's really what it comes back down to. I put up a post when I came out of the seizures, and I was guided to just put up a post that said, "Is your heart open?" See, I would change it now. And I would say, do you love yourself? Do you love yourself? You profess that you love God, you love Mother Goddess, you love this, that, and the other thing, but do you love yourself? And if you feel deficient there, it's okay. It's fine. We all have been there. Who hasn't been through successive traumas in this lifetime? And as my second wife told me after she passed and came to see me to explain to me her behavior towards me, which was a lot like your friend, okay? She said, when you have successive traumas, and who hasn't? It doesn't mean it has to happen like 1 week and then the next week. I mean, this is not linear. It creates holes in your aura, and that's how these energies get into your field. So everybody's been susceptible to it. It doesn't mean that we're going to be enslaved for the rest of our life. It doesn't mean that we won't be a little bit fearful of, oh my God, I got wind that I had a couple of implants months ago. I didn't freak out about it. I just took it step by step by step. Okay? So, what I'm saying is we can profess all we want, our love for the universe. That's not what the universe wants. That's not the way it's built. That's not the way that it births these new galaxies and universes. It's predicated on the love that we have for ourselves. Because the love that we have for ourselves is a simultaneous reaction. It's mutual for everything outside of us. So if Trump pisses you off, my guess is, or he doesn't pick you, whatever, my guess is that, it's the mirror showing you something that you don't like about yourself. I see this happen with a post I put up the other day. A young lady was doing some pretty cool, like light language with, hands. Somebody's like, oh, she looks like she's OnlyFans. Well, what are you really saying there? What's the point of saying it? So I really feel like that this big universal mirror that was being put in front of our face is being put there for a reason. And part of the way that we build this unity consciousness and this oneness is to stop externalizing and projecting on other people and have the fucking balls and the ovaries to look in that mirror and do what the universe put us here to do. And we earned the right to be here. So let's show them.
We sure did. Yeah, we sure did. Personal responsibility. That's, that's how I've always understood and explained it is traumas create exactly what your ex-wife explained to you. That's how they come in. So I've always said to people, they're like, how do I get rid of an entity or an attachment? And I'm like, you've got to look at where the back door is. Because you can clear that entity or that being that's operating and creating, chaos or havoc. But if you don't get to the core root of how it came in, you're just another one's gonna come in and another one. It's getting to the neutralization or the zero pointing of being able to recode in the energy field, in the body, in the cellular imprint, or whatever that trauma was, to face it, to feel it, to love it, to acknowledge it. Once that's resolved, you don't have a weakened or porous field that allows it. So it's like you said, you take your time with it. It's one step at a time, bit by bit. An implant, an attachment, a frequency chip. Sometimes, some days, I'll be honest, it feels like it's a never-ending story. Because what I've observed during turbulent times, energetic times, is we could be clear one moment and then we wake up from a heavy dream space where we're working multidimensionally, and we've we wake up and we feel all disheveled, and it's like I'll do a scan through my body. I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to pull that out, clear my field. It's a day. It's equally as important as having a shower and brushing your teeth is just keeping your field in a clear space so that you can hear your higher self and not the interference in your mind telling you stories that aren't true, that are creating that negative looping. And it's through the negative looping that perpetuates our actions. So if we have that negative looping field, then it perpetuates what I call an inorganic timeline. It keeps us away from our highest path, and that's what it's designed to do. So we have to override it. How do we do it? Awareness is key, self responsibility, asking for support if or when we need it. Sometimes, we need someone to mirror back to us to help unravel it, but ultimately it's doing ourselves to empower us that we can do it and that we know how to navigate through. I had a client come to me this week and it just made me smile because her question was, do I have any more implants? And how do I go about removing them ongoing? How can you teach me how to find them, how to remove them? And I was like, yes, that's what I want. So we went through this process of how that was unique to her and how she can like ongoingly do that maintenance. That lights me up to see the willingness of like, how can I take care of myself? It's like, how can I take care of myself, my health? How can I take care of my energetic health? And that's a key piece to it. So thank you, Todd. Thank you. We're really digging up some
That's
deep,
90
important.
minutes of. I thought it's been 90 minutes. I didn't even realize it.
Right?
Yeah. So this sister, Rebecca Barron, Find the Light, she's in England. She's been on the show a couple of times. I wanted to get her back, but I lost my phone and we communicated through WhatsApp. So I just got a cheap Mexican phone today. I'll try to get back in touch with her. But when Gregory was making the clips, he made quite a few clips of the show we did and like 3 other ones, and one of them was with her. And so I got to revisit some of the clips that she did because she, like you, works with people, and that's kind of part of her delivery is, using like examples and of, like this one that you just had. And so she had one, and she said, well, people will come in and they'll want to talk to, a loved one, or they'll want to talk to their ET family, and she'll say, why don't we talk to you? Why don't you connect to yourself, right? And so I really feel like what you're doing, that's the ultimate quantum merging, is with yourself, right? To be with others and to exchange with others is certainly hugely substantial, but it's within ourselves, right? And this is where I think the new facilitations are taking place. It's less of I'm doing this for you, and it's more of, well, the example you gave is perfect because that's the prerequisite. Like I've been privy to enough sessions to know that in the old paradigm, the first 30 minutes of the session is the practitioner listening to all these war stories. This is what happened, and this is why, and what are they really saying? Well, this is who I am, and this is why. I saw a video with Joe Dispenza. I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't have to. I watched like the first 3 minutes. And he said, when I do a session, the minute someone starts talking about their past, I shut them down. And I tell them, if you want to do that, go somewhere else. Now, he's a really nice guy. You can tell the guy's a nice guy. He's got a big heart. But he don't take that bullshit because he knows it's not going to do anything but delay and create more barriers and more veils and just entrench that whole, it's call it what it is. I mean, we've got to get comfortable too, I think, with some of the nomenclature, some of the names. We got to be okay with, that certain things that we have to accept in terms of our experience and the human conditioning. Insecurity. I talk about that a lot because I've found in myself, my intuition is sharp, but my insecurity can come in and start to build a story, Like I could have had the story about Cortez and say, yeah, I was Cortez and, and this happened and I had to teach Montezuma a lesson and because they were eating people. And no, it's You know what I mean? It's the intuition, the telepathy, all that stuff is of a high frequency. This other stuff isn't even in the conversation, and that's kind of a challenge because we're having to let go. And this is just identities, it's insecurities, it's all these things, all these words, right? And I love what you said about the whole narcissist thing, because I've gone back and forth with this thing for about 3 years, and I finally realized the realm itself, the one that we were hoodwinked or deceived into believing was the end-all cure-all, it's a narcissistic realm. It runs on narcissism. It runs on do what I say, not what I do. We're seeing it now. It's full of gaslighting. Every day, I mean, this war in Iran, I mean, they blew up, God, you know, we know their souls and they're good, but they blew up a school, 200 little girls, and then it's, you know, no, we didn't, and then it's, well, maybe we did, and then it's like, well, fuck it. This thing's falling apart. We don't need to look at it. We don't need to look for evidence with it. It's coming from us, and this is the most important thing. Because the most important thing is, look, I could have had the seizures. We could use someone else, but I'm just saying because that happened, and I'm here, whatever. You may not have ever seen me again. I could have been like Enoch, you know, and just ascended to the heavens or something. Who knows? Or like that Mayan village of 4,000 people that they found that just everybody disappeared. We don't know how this works. The most important thing is ourselves, the universe. And yes, we help each other. And yes, that's fantastic, especially now where we're not enabling and supporting victim consciousness. Okay? We're actually, look, this was a perfect example where this lady came in and can you show me how I can do that? That's a custom template that, you know, that somebody that functions in that role, like you said, that's their role. That's your role. That's your specialty. Just like our aspects have specialties, you know? We're all a piece of this cosmic jigsaw puzzle here on the earth. And you know, I think it's also getting to the point now where we can simplify things without discounting or spiritually bypassing. And we're talking about how much do we love ourselves? How much faith do we really have? You know? I mean, it's what is it? That covers it all. And it's okay. If, you know, I've struggled. I've gone through a lot. We all have. Even recently, and we all have. But it's, at the end of the day, it's me, my higher self soul, and I. And that's it. And that's my mantra now, the last 2 weeks. When I walk around, I think about something, or like last night, I couldn't sleep last night. You know why? Because it came in and said, you're leaving. And I'm like, holy shit. And all of a sudden I feel sick. And I'm like, why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep? And I walk outside and I stand on the balcony and I'm like looking around. And I could not shake it. And I finally just said, you know what? I am soul. I am my soul. I am soul. In this body, conscious and aware. And fuck it. Woke up in the morning, bought a ticket, didn't think about the expense, thought, you know what? And then some blessings came in and I'm like, okay, well, there you go. Because that is something that I think many of us can point to as well. When we take a step, an action of faith, especially in this climate that we're in now, the universe will meet you every single time. Yeah, really will. And how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So what you said earlier about it's one step at a time. And I was told that 14 years ago in the streets. I was told nobody can skip a step. Because they used to tell me, you get in a hurry too much. You need to sit with it a little bit. Don't be in such a rush. And then I realized, well, yeah, you can't miss a step. Every single step is how this thing works. So nobody gets a free ride, a get out of jail free card. I could use one of those. Anyway, I'm good. I don't know. You close it out. You take us out here. Conclude it all. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to thank you for your bravery and your honesty and your transparency. And I think we're all just doing the best that we can. We are in very heightened times energetically and physically. But ultimately, I feel like we're coming to this close of the grand conflict that has been echoing is coming into completion. And some of us are ahead of the curve. And I think that those that are going through these really grand transformations, similar to what you've gone through and I've gone through, we're literally seeding the path of the new, and we just have to be in integrity each day, each step of the way, and open the floodgates to the migration into the new reality. And some days it's going to be rough and tough, and sometimes we're going to have like put our big girl pants on or big boy pants on, and as you say, eat humble pie. And other days we're going to be just in iridescent, yummy frequencies, and we just gotta move through each step of it as it is and as it unrolls and listen to our guidance each moment. So, thank you, Todd, and thank you, everyone, for this
Yeah.
being quite profound.
Yes, it has. And the next time I'll see you, I'll be in the United States in 2 weeks. I'll be leaving in 10 days.
Oh my God.
So we'll see what happens. See what happens.
Wow, next time I see you, I will have gone to Brisbane and back. So, we're
Oh,
both going on a journey.
there we go. Okay, there we go. All right. Well, you take care. You take care. Blessings of peace, grace, and love to you and everybody
Thanks.
here and all your loved ones. And we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.